Hey, friend Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, can't we just be friends? Orange Hearted is a 7% IPA with orange from Bell's Brewery in Comstock, Michigan. I reviewed a few of Bell's Hearted series. We've got Two Hearted, we've got Light Hearted, even Black Hearted. Didn't do Cold Hearted, but you get the gist. Now I've had a lot of different entries in the Hearted series, but obviously this will be the first time I'm getting a shot at Orange Hearted, which was a general store only release because it was just released for the first time on February 15th of 2022. And it's for all those out there stuck in the friend zone, which I'd argue you'd probably need more of these on Valentine's Day than the day after. But regardless, let's get a look at the label. We'll get it into a glass. But first, I'd like to thank my executive producers, Brian Kramer, David Jeffries, Vinny Cat, and Cam Freeman for helping to bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, or maybe just throw me a couple bucks to buy me a beer, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.drafttherapy.com, where you can get early access to these videos and a few other special perks available only to patrons, and the satisfaction of knowing that you helped me out. So let's take a look at this whole thing. On the top, we have a black Bell's cap with the Bell's logo on it. If we look at the front, we don't have the typical Comstock, Michigan Bell's neck of the bottle label, but on the front, it says Bell's again in black. It has it looks like a text conversation. On the top right is a red heart. On the middle, it says Orange Hearted, a platonic American India Pale Ale with orange. Across the bottom, it says brewed and bottled by Bell's Brewery Incorporated in Comstock, Michigan. If we look on the side, it has the government warning. If we turn it all the way around to the back, on the top, it says 12 fluid ounces. The world of romantic texting is ambiguous, where every character is up for interpretation. This is the beer for trying to decipher what an orange heart emoji actually means, and if the different shade is a signal, you're heading from flirtation to the friend zone. Underneath that, it has all the particulars that you know. Again, this is 7% alcohol by volume. The shelf life is 6 months. This was packaged on February 10th, 2022, and underneath it says bellsbeer.com, where you can find out more about them. Today is the 26th, so this was just packaged about 2 weeks ago, 16 days or so. So I'm going to grab a Tiku glass here, and we're going to crack it and put a nose on it. I'm just going to say this out in front. I'm almost wondering, when I was kind of looking at this, if this is like a two-hearted thing that they, I don't know, did they know they were going to do Orange Hearted before they did it, or did they just kind of do it as a result of other issues? I don't know, but let's put a nose on it. It smells like a regular two-hearted. You get that little bit of a pininess, a little bit of a citrus. Get a nice malty sweetness in there as well. So let's go ahead and pour it. We'll see what we get. Coming out orange. I mean, that looks like two-hearted out of the can or out of the bottle. We're going to pour it up here. Let it get a little bit more aeration as it goes in. We're looking at about 2 fingers ahead. Big bubble just popped on the top there. It's got a really just an off-white colored head, shading a little bit towards the yellow/orange realm. It's not quite bright white or brilliant white, as you can see from the overhead, but it's a really dense, compact head. If we hold it up, it to you looks a little bit darker orange than it does to me through the light. It looks really orange, like really golden orange. Lots of particulate. I'm not going to say hazy, but there is a lot of particulate that's floating in there. I guess it's a little bit hazy, but I can't see my fingers through it. So let's go ahead and put a nose on the glass here. Yeah, more of the same. It smells very much like Two Hearted. I think maybe there might be a little bit more of a citrus than what Two Hearted is, but Two Hearted is generally has a little bit of a pininess, a little bit of a citrus, a little bit of a malty kind of sweetness on the nose. All the same notes here, maybe just a little bit more on the orange, leaning towards orange. Let's go ahead and stop talking and try it out. Cheers. So the mouthfeel is just what you would expect from Two Hearted. It's got a nice medium mouthfeel for an IPA, maybe not so heavy. I wouldn't say it's heavy. I'd say it's just really strictly in the medium category. It's a nice, got a nice body for an IPA. Let's talk about the flavor here. So what I feel like I'm getting on the upfront on this, which is just a little bit different than Two Hearted, is I am getting a big burst of citrusy orange characteristic right on the upfront. It's not so much, it comes up, really quick at the beginning, and then it kind of dissipates. You get that you get that malty kind of characteristic. You get that a little bit of a piney bitterness, a little bit of a citrus bitterness. You get that malty sweetness on the back end, on the swallow, on the aftertaste is where I'm kind of picking up on a little bit of a different, I mean, again, it's a lot like Two Hearted. It's got a little bit of a dry finish. It has that kind of, I always describe Two Hearted as having like a woodsy kind of cedary finish. And I think that's the malty element coming through like really hard on the end. And it dries out your tongue a little bit on that swallow. The place where I'm really noticing the difference between regular Two Hearted and this Orange Hearted is that Orange Hearted, you know, as the name would imply, and as they mention on the label, it has that more orangey, really characteristic right up front. I feel like regular Two Hearted is a little bit more, has a little bit more of a piney bitterness, where it feels like this has a little bit more of a citrus bitterness that is a little bit more pronounced in the beginning. I think the piney bitterness is still there, but I feel like it's kind of pushed down a little bit more because of that citrus, because it has so much more of that citrus bitterness. I guess in the aftertaste too, I'm picking up a little bit more on a citrus note on this than I would on a regular Two Hearted. I feel like the maltiness comes through a little bit more on a regular Two Hearted, and I feel like that kind of woodsy, kind of, like I said, cedary kind of characteristic that you get on a Two Hearted is a little bit tamped down on this one too, just a tiny bit, like almost imperceptibly shorter. It just has something else, and it's that orange that's that something else that's on top of it. I think that if you are a Two Hearted fan and you were thinking, you know, like, oh, I'm going to go out and get Orange Hearted and it's going to be so drastically different, it's really not that different. It's a little bit more orangey forward. I think if you put it in front of someone that had, you know, they had Two Hearted, but it's been a while, you gave them a blind taste test, you didn't let them know this was some different version of Two Hearted. If you didn't say, hey, this is Orange Hearted, it's this new thing that they're doing, or this limited thing that they're doing, I don't think a regular kind of just once in a while Two Hearted fan or drinker would really notice a difference between the two. I mean, I definitely think it has more of that orangey characteristic, a little bit more of a sweeter kind of orangey characteristic up front too on that first kind of taste, but I don't really feel like it's all that much different from Two Hearted. And I think if you gave it to somebody that was like a diehard Two Hearted fan, they'd be like, what did you do to my Two Hearted? What did you add to this? But if you gave it to somebody that was just kind of like an occasional drinker or once in a while or once every so often kind of person, I don't think they'd really notice much of a difference. I think the big difference is you're getting a little bit, that oranginess is more pronounced, that citrus bitterness is a little bit more pronounced, a little bit less of that kind of woodsy, cedary, kind of malty flavor on the finish. It's just a little bit, it's almost like just an orangey sweet, or orangey sweeter, a sweeter orange Two Hearted, I mean, as the name would imply, but I don't think that someone that's not familiar with Two Hearted would really notice much of a difference. All right, friends, that has been Orange Hearted from good old Bell's. Have you had this beer? Do you think it's a good move for Bell's to make different varieties of Two Hearted, or would you just prefer they stuck with the same old with the original? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell. I'm here talking about beer twice a week. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you. Been launching a new series called Michigan Must Stop Breweries that I'm kind of stopping into breweries and kind of telling you a little bit more about that. So if you want to see more content like that, make sure you subscribe. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries, and most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Cheers.